Right now, my house is bathed in flashing red and blue lights. Not the festive kind, the official kind. The kind that usually means someone's T-boned a minivan or tried to rob the corner store. But tonight, they're competing. Rather spectacularly, I might add, with the other light show. Brilliant beams of emerald green, ruby red, and shimmering gold laser light painting enormous, exploding fireworks across my roof, my garage door, the entire front facade of my unassuming suburban colonial. A faint, sweet-smelling haze hangs in the air, catching the beams, making them pop like solid ribbons of light against the cold December sky. It's really quite beautiful, in a declaration of war via photons kind of way. Okay, Alex, deep breaths, I tell myself, trying to look nonchalant while subtly minimizing the control software window on my laptop. It's just projected light. Harmless photons dancing on vinyl siding. Probably shouldn't have programmed that grand finale cascade sequence to sweep quite so vigorously across the lawn. Mrs. Henderson's prize-winning poodle did look momentarily stunned. And maybe, just maybe, that simulated skyrocket barrage accidentally clipped the responding patrol car's windshield with a stray beam. Minor calibration issues. Easily fixed. 2 police officers are standing on my lawn, looking profoundly bewildered. One is older, with a mustache that seems permanently skeptical. The other is younger, trying hard to maintain a professional demeanor while clearly thinking, "What fresh hell is this?" They're both shielding their eyes slightly, not from noise. There is no noise, that's the beauty of it, but from the sheer, silent spectacle erupting across my house. And beside them, practically vibrating like an over-caffeinated chihuahua, is Karen Miller. My neighbor, HOA president, arbiter of taste. And the reason my house currently looks like the illegitimate love child of Disneyland's Main Street Electrical Parade and a Pink Floyd concert. Her face, illuminated by alternating flashes of police blue and laser gold, is a mask of pure, unadulterated fury. She's pointing a trembling finger at my house. "Officer, sir!" the older cop, mustache cop, yells, trying to project over the non-existent noise. "Mr. Thompson, could you possibly turn this display off or pause it? We need to talk to you." Karen doesn't wait for my response. "He's blinding the neighborhood, officer!" she shrieks, her voice tight with outrage. "It's a public menace, look at it. It's like an illegal rave has infested his roof. Shut it down! Shut down this laser disco!" I force a calm, slightly confused smile. "Evening, officers. Karen, nice to see you out enjoying the atmosphere." I gesture vaguely at the laser fireworks exploding silently above us. "Just spreading a little silent holiday cheer. It's just light projection, totally harmless photons. No noise, no mess. Let me just see if I can find the pause sequence button here." I make a show of clicking around on my laptop, maybe accidentally triggering a particularly dazzling simulated chrysanthemum burst that momentarily illuminates Karen's enraged face in brilliant green. "Whoops. Sir," younger cop says, stepping forward, consulting a tablet. "We've received multiple calls tonight. Complaints logged include disorienting lights, severe visual disturbance, unauthorized pyrotechnic simulation, and my personal favorite, possible alien invasion signaling device. We need to ascertain what city ordinances this, light show might be violating." "Ordinances?" I feign surprise. "But officers, it's completely silent. It's not physically attached to the house in any prohibited manner. It's just light. Photons hitting stucco. Show me the municipal code section that regulates projected photons." Karen sputters, unable to form coherent words for a moment. "Bylaws, nuisance clauses, public safety, the sheer unmitigated tackiness of it all. It has to be illegal." Mustache cop and younger cop exchange a look. It's the universal look of law enforcement officers, realizing they've been dragged into a neighborhood dispute that has escalated to weapons-grade absurdity. This laser light spectacular, this beacon of bureaucratic defiance currently causing Karen Miller to short-circuit on my lawn, wasn't Plan A. Oh no. Plan A was much simpler, much more traditional. Plan A involved extension cords, plastic clips, and good old-fashioned incandescent Christmas lights. It all started 3 weeks ago, right after Thanksgiving. The holiday spirit bit me hard this year. I envisioned my house as a beacon of festive warmth, a cheerful jewel in the suburban crown. I spent an entire weekend wrestling with tangled wires, climbing ladders, and meticulously outlining the roofline, windows, and porch railings with classic C9 bulbs, bright, festive, multicolored bulbs. I added shimmering icicle lights along the eaves. I even, after careful measurement and consultation of the HOA rule book, Section 15, subsection E, inflatable decorations, installed a single, tasteful, 6-foot-tall inflatable snowman near the mailbox. He waved cheerfully. I thought he looked great. I was standing back, admiring my handiwork as dusk fell, the multicolored lights twinkling merrily, the snowman bobbing slightly in the breeze, feeling pretty darn proud of myself. That's when Karen made her approach. Not marching, not yet. This was the reconnaissance phase. She ambled across her lawn, examining my display with a critical eye, like a health inspector scrutinizing a suspicious buffet. "Alex, dear," she began, her voice syrupy sweet, a tone that always set my teeth on edge. "Starting the festivities early, I see." "Hey, Karen," I beamed, genuinely trying to be neighborly. "Merry almost Christmas. Just getting into the spirit, what do you think?" She tilted her head, her lips pursed. "Well, it's certainly vivid. Those lights, Alex, aren't they a bit much?" She gestured towards the cheerfully blinking C9S. "The blinking pattern on the eaves seems rather aggressive, don't you think? And the brightness, it's quite intense." "Aggressive blinking?" I chuckled, thinking she was joking. "It's just a standard twinkle pattern, Karen. Festive. And I checked the rules. The total wattage is well under the limit per outlet, and Frosty there," I patted the inflatable snowman, "is exactly 6 feet tall, regulation size." Karen's smile didn't reach her eyes. "It's not just about the wattage or the height, Alex. It's the overall impact. The visual harmony of the neighborhood. Bylaw 15, subsection C, specifically prohibits decorations causing undue visual distraction or deviating significantly from the established neighborhood aesthetic." "Undue visual distraction?" I repeated, baffled. "It's Christmas lights. They're supposed to be visually distracting. That's the point." "There's festive, Alex," she said coolly. "And then there's garish. The board prefers a more understated, classic approach. Perhaps consider switching to static white lights next year." She gave my multicolored display one last disapproving glance and retreated to her own tastefully decorated house, a single, elegant white wreath on the door and maybe 6 luminarias lining the walkway. I tried to brush it off. "It's Karen," I told myself. "She complains about everything." But then the official notices started arriving in my mailbox, tucked between junk mail and bills, printed on crisp HOA letterhead. First notice, friendly reminder, holiday decoration guidelines. Highlighted section on tasteful illumination. Second notice, warning, violation of bylaw 15. C, excessive illumination and non-approved animation pattern. Third notice, fine assessment, $50, violation of bylaw. 15G, holiday decorations operating past 9 p.m. curfew. 9 p.m.? Who turns off Christmas lights at 9 p.m.? It wasn't even properly dark yet. I tried arguing. I pointed out Bob down the street, whose entire roof was blinking in sync with Mannheim's steamroller. His lights are classic white, Alex, Karen explained patiently at the next HOA board meeting, which I attended specifically to plead my case. And his blinking is grandfathered in from 2018. Yours, she shuddered delicately, are multicolored and employ an unapproved cascading twinkle effect. The board, naturally, sided with Karen. My appeal was denied. The final straw came a week before Christmas. A certified letter. Final warning, immediate action required. It stated that if my non-compliant and aesthetically disruptive light display was not significantly curtailed, read removed or replaced with boring white lights, within 48 hours I would face daily fines of $100 and the HOA would contractually remove the decorations at my expense. I stood there, holding the letter, staring at my cheerful, twinkling, multicolored lights. Lights I had spent hours putting up. Lights that brought smiles to the faces of kids walking by. Lights that were, by any reasonable measure, perfectly normal Christmas decorations. And Karen, armed with her vague bylaws and personal vendetta against anything brighter than a 40-watt bulb, was going to force me to take them down. Something snapped. A tiny circuit breaker in my brain labeled tolerance for petty bureaucracy finally tripped. "Fine!" I yelled at the offending letter, startling my cat off the windowsill. "Fine! You don't like my lights? You think bulbs are too much?" An idea, wild and utterly disproportionate, sparked in the depths of my tech-addled brain. Let's see how you feel about pure, unadulterated light. Fueled by righteous indignation and several cups of coffee, I retrieved the HOA bylaws and covenants binder, that sacred text of suburban oppression. I spread it open on my dining room table like a general planning a campaign. If Karen was going to wield the rulebook like a weapon, I was going to find the gaps in her defenses. I turned to Section 15, Holiday Decorations and Seasonal Displays. I read it. Then I read it again. This time with the laser focus of a tax auditor searching for loopholes. "Okay, let's break it down," I muttered, highlighter poised. Permitted period, day after Thanksgiving to January 15th. Check. Hours of operation 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. only. Seriously. Who wrote this? Scrooge. Light types. LED preferred for energy conservation. Incandescent, tolerated if total wattage per 15-amp circuit does not exceed 800 watts. My C9S were well under. Check. Animation. Static illumination preferred. Limited blinking, twinkling, or chasing effects permitted only if patterns are subtle and do not create a strobe-like or distracting effect. See Appendix B for approved patterns. Appendix B contained diagrams of gentle fades and slow twinkles. My cascading twinkle was apparently rogue. Inflatables. Maximum height, 6 feet. Maximum 2 inflatables per property. Must be securely anchored. Check. Frosty was safe. Installation. Decorations must not be affixed in a manner that causes permanent damage to structures, for example, excessive nailing, drilling into siding. Must not obstruct walkways or create hazards. Wires must be secured neatly. Check. Sound, audible components, music, sound effects, prohibited after 9 p.m. Mine were silent. Check. Prohibited items, overtly commercial displays, decorations deemed offensive or inappropriate, at board discretion naturally, excessive clutter. I scanned the pages again and again. It was all there. Rules about bulbs, wires, wattage, inflatables, physical objects attached to the house, noise levels, timings, everything tangible. And then it hit me. The glorious gaping loophole. The rules governed things. Physical decorations. Objects you could hang, plug in, inflate. There was absolutely nothing, not a single word, not a clause, not a footnote about projected light. Nothing about lasers. Nothing about animations beamed onto the house rather than strung across it. Nothing about visual displays that didn't involve a single physical object being affixed to the property in an unapproved manner. I leaned back in my chair, a slow, slightly manic grin spreading across my face. The kind of grin usually reserved for supervillains unveiling their doomsday devices. "It's not a decoration, Karen," I whispered to the empty room, savoring the beautiful logic. "It's an atmospheric light display. It's not attached to anything prohibited. It doesn't use prohibited bulbs or wattage in the traditional sense. It's just photons. Photons hitting my house. You can't regulate photons." Checkmate. The idea blossomed instantly. Forget subtle, forget tasteful. If Karen and her committee of beige enthusiasts hated my cheerful, multicolored C9 bulbs, they were going to absolutely despise what I had in mind next. I wasn't just going to project snowflakes or a static Happy Holidays message. No, that wasn't nearly petty enough. I was going to project fireworks. A full-blown, spectacular, dazzling fireworks show, silently exploding all over the front of my house. Rockets soaring up the walls, peonies bursting over the windows, Catherine wheels spinning on the garage door. All rendered in brilliant, impossible-to-ignore laser light. Silent. Technically rule-abiding. And guaranteed to drive Karen Miller utterly, completely insane. The sheer, beautiful pettiness of it was intoxicating. My initial excitement quickly ran into a technical wall. Those cheap star shower laser projectors you see everywhere? The ones that spray lazy green and red dots across your garage? Utterly inadequate for my grand vision of simulated pyrotechnics. I needed power. I needed control. I needed the ability to create complex animations, not just scattered dots. My Google searches shifted from HOA loopholes to high-power laser projectors, ILDA control software, laser animation programming, and event laser safety. I plunged headfirst into a world I barely knew existed, a world of Class 4 lasers, galvanometer scanners, Pangolin QuickShow, and the crucial difference between beam shows and graphical projections. I quickly learned two things. This was going to be significantly more complex than stringing up Christmas lights. This was going to be expensive. My tech background helped me grasp the concepts, but the hardware itself was specialized. I started making calls, trying to source the equipment. Call 1, Spectra Event Lighting and Production. Sounded professional, maybe too professional. Spectra Events, how can I direct your call? Hi, yes, I'm interested in possibly renting or purchasing a laser projection system. Certainly. What kind of event are you planning? We handle everything from corporate galas and concerts to weddings and large-scale architectural lighting. Well, I hesitated. It's more of a residential holiday display. A pause. The professional warmth in the voice cooled slightly. A residential display? Sir, what exactly are you looking to project? Silent fireworks, I said, trying to make it sound normal. Animated laser fireworks projected onto the front of my house. A longer pause. You want to put a professional-grade laser projector aimed at your house to simulate fireworks? For Christmas? Essentially, yes. It's a long story involving the HOA. Sir, the voice was now bordering on incredulous. Our insurance policy most definitely does not cover projecting high-power lasers onto residential structures in a suburban neighborhood. And frankly, that sounds ill-advised. Perhaps look into consumer-grade projectors on Amazon? Click. Call 2. DJ Dave's Discount Sound and Light Emporium. Sounded less professional, maybe more my speed. Yo, DJ Dave's, what up? Hi, I'm looking for laser projectors. Right on, man, got tons. How many beams you need? Green, red, blue? Got some cool multi-pattern ones, great for basement parties. Actually, I said, I need something more powerful. RGB, probably 5 watts or more, programmable via ILDA, capable of detailed graphical animation. Whoa, dude, DJ Dave interrupted. ILDA? 5 watts? RGB animation? Sounds like you need pro touring gear, man. Like stuff they use at Coachella. We mostly sell gear for mobile DJs and Sweet 16 parties. That kind of rig costs serious bank, bro. He didn't exactly hang up, but he made it clear he couldn't help me. Frustrated, I turned to the dark corners of the internet. Online forums dedicated to laser hobbyists and professionals. These were places where people debated the merits of different diode manufacturers and shared complex code for creating beam effects. I posted a carefully worded inquiry asking for advice on sourcing equipment for a large-scale architectural projection project involving animated graphics onto a residential facade. A day later, I got a private message from a user named LaserLenny79. The profile picture was a blurry shot of someone silhouetted against a complex web of laser beams. The message read, "Projecting onto a house, huh? Sounds weird. What's the deal, trying to signal Batman?" I explained the situation, omitting none of the petty details about Karen, the HOA, the rejected C9S, and my loophole discovery. Lenny's response came back almost instantly. "Dude! Projecting laser fireworks onto your house because the HOA prez hates twinkly lights? That is epic. Seriously legendary level of spite. I love it. You gotta tell me more." Lenny, it turned out, was a freelance laser technician and programmer who usually worked small club gigs and corporate events, but had a passion for pushing the boundaries of light art, especially if it involved annoying bureaucrats. He was based only 2 towns over. We arranged a consultation. Lenny arrived looking exactly like his online persona suggested. Mid-30s, boundless energy, arms covered in colorful tattoos, including what looked like a stylized laser beam, wearing ripped jeans, a band t-shirt, and a backwards baseball cap. He surveyed my house, the street, Karen's place across the way. Nodding thoughtfully. "Okay, Alex, my dude," he declared, rubbing his hands together. "Operation Photon Freedom. This is totally doable. Gnarly, but doable." He pulled out a laser distance measurer and started taking readings. "All right, decent throw distance. Facade is mostly flat, good projection surface. Gonna need at least 2 decent RGB projectors to cover the whole front without keystoning too bad. I'd recommend 5 watts minimum per unit for good brightness, especially if you want those colors to really pop against ambient light." He peered into the darkness. "And yeah, man, you are definitely gonna need haze. Without haze, you just see the dots where the lasers hit the house. With haze," his eyes lit up. "The beams become visible, solid shafts of light, makes the whole thing look way more 3-dimensional and awesome. Like real fireworks tracing through the air." I explained the HOA loophole regarding projections versus physical decorations. Lenny slapped his knee, laughing. "Dude, that's brilliant! Pure genius! Using their own stupid rules against them with pure light. It's beautiful! I did this gig once where we projected a band's logo onto this giant water tower because the city wouldn't let them hang a banner. Lasers, man! The ultimate protest tool." He got down to business, sketching ideas on a tablet. "So we can program anything you want. Rockets, peonies, chrysanthemums, falling stars. We can even do text. Happy holidays. Or," he grinned mischievously, "maybe something spicier." "Let's stick to festive for now," I cautioned, though the thought was tempting. "But make it big, make it bright, make it undeniable." Lenny pulled up some equipment rental sites and supplier pages on his tablet. "Okay, so gear-wise, pro projectors aren't cheap, even used or rented. Plus the ILDA controller, software license, haze machine, fluids, cabling. And then there's my time for programming the show and setup." He showed me a ballpark figure. It was substantial, significantly more than a lifetime supply of C9 bulbs. And safety, man, Lenny added, his tone suddenly serious. Gotta be super careful. These aren't laser pointers. Class Foy lasers can cause instant eye damage if you look directly into the beam, even from reflections. We need to establish safety zones, make sure no beams can possibly hit windows across the street, or go up into airspace where planes might be. Aiming is critical. Don't want to accidentally give Karen's cat laser eye surgery, you know? We just want to annoy her with light, not blind her. I looked at the quote. I thought about Karen's smug rejection of my simple lights. I pictured her face bathed in silent, laser-generated explosions. Let's do it, Lenny, I said, a thrill running through me. Let's make some silent fireworks. The following week felt like preparing for a covert operation. Heavy flight cases started arriving, delivered by bewildered courier drivers. Inside were the beasts, 2 professional-grade 5-watt RGB laser projectors, looking like something out of a sci-fi movie, a dedicated ILDA controller box, spools of thick data and power cables, and a surprisingly hefty haze machine that promised long-lasting, evenly dispersed atmospheric effects. Setting up was a challenge. We needed stable platforms for the projectors, aimed precisely at my house facade from across the yard to get the right coverage and minimize distortion. We couldn't just plop them on the lawn. Tripods are too wobbly, Lenny declared, and ground-level projection might get blocked by bushes or passing cars. We need height and stability. Option A was mounting them discreetly in upstairs windows. Option B, the more effective but logistically nightmarish choice, was mounting them on the roof. We opted for the roof. This involved me nervously climbing an extension ladder while Lenny hauled up the heavy projectors with ropes, followed by securing weatherproof mounting brackets to the chimney stack, a task I outsourced to a very confused handyman I found online. You want me to bolt laser cannons to your chimney, sir, for Christmas lights? Then came the power. These things were thirsty. My standard outdoor outlets wouldn't cut it. We ended up running heavy-duty, outdoor-rated extension cords from dedicated circuits in the garage, carefully snaked along the roofline and down the side of the house, trying to keep them as hidden as possible from Karen's prying eyes. With the hardware in place, the real fun began. Programming the fireworks show. We set up shop in my living room, laptop connected to the ILDA controller, which was wired out to the roof-mounted projectors. Lenny fired up the specialized laser control software. Pangolin Quick Show, and its interface looked as complex as a space shuttle cockpit. All right, laser Padawan, Lenny grinned, cracking his knuckles. Welcome to the art of painting with light. He walked me through the basics, creating shapes, animating paths, controlling colors, setting timings. It was fascinating and incredibly fiddly. We spent hours designing the sequences. Okay, so for a classic peony burst, Lenny explained, manipulating vector points on the screen, you start with a single beam shooting up. That's your lift charge. Then, at the apex, you trigger a rapid expansion into a sphere of points, maybe add a little glitter effect with strobing dots, and then fade it out. He hit preview, and a miniature green firework exploded silently on the laptop screen. Awesome, I exclaimed. Can we make the rockets leave trails? And can we have multiple colors in one burst? Totally. Lenny dove back into the parameters. We can layer effects, add trails, control the color mix frame by frame. What kind of finale are you thinking? Big multi-burst chaos? Exactly, I said. And maybe, just maybe, could we program a rocket that subtly spells out bah humbug in smoke? I mean laser trails, aimed vaguely in the direction of Karen's prize-winning petunias? Lenny laughed. Whoa there, killer. Remember safety zones. Keep the photons strictly on your own property. And let's keep the messaging festive, all right? How about a big Happy Holidays sign at the end? Fine, I conceded. Happy Holidays it is. We designed soaring rockets, glittering chrysanthemum bursts, spinning Catherine wheels for the garage door, cascading waterfalls of light down the walls, and a truly epic grand finale sequence involving dozens of simultaneous bursts in every color imaginable. Late-night testing was essential but risky. We waited until well after midnight, hoping the neighborhood was asleep. We powered up the system at low intensity, just enough to see the alignment. The first test firing was interesting. A simulated rocket launch accidentally traced a perfect, bright green outline of Karen's cat, Mittens, who was sitting obliviously on the fence between our properties. Mittens blinked, seemingly unfazed, and sauntered off. Okay, Lenny muttered, quickly adjusting the targeting parameters. Need to tighten the beam path projection matrix. Don't want to accidentally highlight the neighbor's feline. Another test involved firing up the haze machine. We wanted just a light mist, but I miscalculated the output setting. Within minutes, my front yard resembled a scene from a low-budget horror movie. Thick fog billowing everywhere. It promptly set off my own exterior smoke detector, causing a brief moment of panic before I could shut it down. Aiming the two projectors perfectly so their images merged seamlessly on the house facade also proved trickier than expected, involving much shouting back and forth between me on the ground with binoculars and Lenny on the roof making minute adjustments. A little to the left, no, my left, up, too far. Eventually, though, we got it dialed in. We ran a few short sequences, a quick burst, a spinning wheel confirming the visuals worked before shutting everything down rapidly, heart pounding, hoping no one had noticed the strange, silent flashes of light in the dead of night. The calm before the storm was palpable. Karen knew something was up. She'd seen the deliveries, the handyman on the roof, the late-night activity. Her patrols past my house became more frequent, her gaze more suspicious. She started leaving passive-aggressive notes taped to my door again, carefully avoiding any mention of lasers she couldn't prove, but hinting darkly. Alex, please be advised that per Bylaw 8, any unapproved structural modifications, including rooftop antenna or equipment installations, require prior written HOA approval. And a reminder that large electrical installations drawing significant amperage may require upgraded service panels and city inspection. She even confronted me directly one afternoon while I was pretending to rake leaves near the hidden projector cables. Alex, she began, her voice deceptively casual. What is all that equipment you've been installing up there? And those large cases I saw delivered? It looks like industrial machinery. I leaned on my rake, affecting an air of breezy innocence. Oh, that? Just some new energy-efficient atmospheric lighting I'm trying out, Karen. Very modern, you know. Trying to be more eco-conscious with my holiday display this year. Lower carbon footprint and all that. Karen narrowed her eyes. Atmospheric lighting? It looked like something from a science fiction movie. I'm warning you, Alex. The board is watching very closely. Any violations of the covenants will be dealt with swiftly. Wouldn't dream of violating anything, Karen, I assured her, flashing my most trustworthy smile. Just trying to spread a little quiet, eco-friendly cheer. She clearly didn't believe a word, but without proof, she could only fume. A few days later, a bulletin from the HOA arrived in everyone's mailbox. It was a general reminder about adhering strictly to the holiday decoration guidelines, Section 15, but with a newly added, suspiciously vague paragraph mentioning that any lighting effects deemed by the board to be excessively bright, intrusive, or utilizing non-traditional projection methods may be subject to review and potential citation under the Nuisance Clause, Bylaw 22. It didn't explicitly ban lasers, but it was a clear, preemptive shot across my bow. Too little, too late. The night I chose for the premiere was the Saturday before Christmas. Close enough to be festive, random enough to be maximally annoying. The weather forecast was perfect. Cold, clear, and still, ideal conditions for the haze to hang beautifully. I gave my immediate neighbors, the non-Karen ones, a quick, casual heads up. Hey, just experimenting with a new silent light projector tonight. Hope you enjoy the show. Their reactions ranged from intrigued to wary. As 9 p.m. or Karen's sacred lights-out curfew ticked past, I felt a giddy mix of nervousness and exhilaration. I dimmed the lights in my living room, brought up the control software on my laptop, and poured myself a generous glass of bourbon. Sarah patted my shoulder. "Good luck," she whispered. "Try not to cause an FAA investigation." Lenny was on standby via text, ready for remote troubleshooting if needed. "Showtime," I murmured, took a sip of bourbon, and clicked Execute Sequence, Silent Night Pyrotechnics V3, 2 final. First, the gentle hiss of the haze machine, puffing out its light, sweet-smelling mist that hung almost invisibly in the cold air. Then, silence. For a beat. And then the lasers fired. Brilliant beams of pure color sliced through the night. A simulated rocket, rendered in emerald green light, silently streaked up the siding towards the roof peak. It burst, not with a bang, but with an explosion of dazzling ruby-red laser points, forming a perfect chrysanthemum that shimmered and slowly faded. Another rocket followed, this one gold, erupting into a glittering willow whose tendrils of light seemed to drip down the walls. It was stunning, better than I had even imagined. The haze caught the beams perfectly, making them look like solid, vibrant ribbons painting the air before terminating on the house in sharp, bright patterns. Catherine wheels spun silently on the garage doors, blue sparks chasing red. Roman candles fired volleys of colored stars up the chimney. A waterfall of shimmering white light cascaded down from the roofline. It was a full-blown fireworks display, utterly silent, playing out across the canvas of my suburban home. Lights started flicking on in houses up and down the street. Dark figures emerged onto porches, silhouetted against their interior lights. People were pointing, heads tilted, trying to process the silent spectacle. I saw the blue glow of cell phones capturing the display. I couldn't hear them, but I imagined the confused whispers. What is that? Is that lasers? Are those fireworks? And then, right on cue, Karen Miller's front door burst open. She stood there for a second, silhouetted, before charging out onto her lawn, phone already pressed to her ear. Even from across the street, I could almost feel the waves of apoplectic rage rolling off her. She was yelling into the phone, gesturing wildly at my house, calling 911, no doubt. Within minutes, the flashing red and blue lights arrived, slicing through the laser display, adding an unintended layer of chaotic color to the scene. My heart hammered against my ribs, but I kept my face calm, sipping my bourbon as the officers approached, shielding their eyes. The scene unfolded just as I remembered it starting. Mustache Cop yelled over the non-existent noise, asking me to pause the show. Karen shrieked about laser discos and public nuisances. I feigned helpfulness while accidentally triggering another volley of silent explosions. "Okay, sir, seriously this time," Mustache Cop said, pinching the bridge of his nose after I finally found the pause button, freezing a half-exploded golden willow on my roof. "What is this? It's obviously not real fireworks." "Correct, officer," I said cheerfully, stepping onto the porch, laptop in hand. "Zero explosives involved, zero noise pollution. What you're seeing is a Class 4 laser light display projecting animated graphics onto my home's facade. Think of it as digital Christmas lights, very energy efficient." "It's a public nuisance," Karen insisted, practically hopping with fury. It's blinding. It's distracting. It's violating. It must be violating something. The bylaws, the city code, the Geneva Convention. Younger cop was consulting his tablet, radio crackling softly. Okay, sir. Dispatch confirms there's no specific city ordinance prohibiting this type of light projection, provided the beams aren't directed into roadways, navigable airspace, or directly into neighboring residences. He squinted at my house, then at Karen's. Doesn't appear to be aimed dangerously. Exactly, I beamed. Safety zones were meticulously calibrated by a certified laser technician. I gestured vaguely towards the roof. No beams are hitting Miss Miller's house directly, nor the street, nor any aircraft, I assure you. And as for the HOA rules, I patted the binder I'd conveniently brought outside with me. They regulate physical decorations, bulbs, wires, inflatables. There is absolutely no mention of lasers or light projection systems. Karen seized on a new angle. But the haze, she cried triumphantly. That's atmospheric pollution. Bylaw 22 clearly prohibits the release of noxious fumes or smoke. I sighed dramatically. Karen, it's water-based, non-toxic haze fluid, the same kind used in theaters and concerts. It creates a light mist for visual effect. It's arguably less polluting than the smoke from your wood-burning fireplace. The officers looked at each other again. They were clearly out of their depth and eager to leave. Ma'am, Mustache Cop said to Karen, his voice heavy with resignation. As we've stated before, HOA rules are a civil matter. Based on what we're seeing and the ordinances we have, he doesn't appear to be breaking any laws. We can't force him to turn it off. Karen looked like she might actually explode. Her face went crimson. She opened her mouth, then closed it, speechless with rage at being thwarted by photons and loopholes. Seeing my moment, I subtly reached for the laptop. Well, since that's settled, I said brightly, allow me to present the grand finale. I hit enter. The paused willow vanished, replaced by an overwhelming barrage of silent, multicolored light. Dozens of simulated fireworks erupted simultaneously across the entire front of the house. Reds, blues, greens, golds, purples. Crackling, whistling, booming, all in utter silence. It culminated in a massive, glittering script drawn in brilliant white laser light across the garage doors. Happy holidays! The two police officers just stared, jaws slightly slack. Then, Mustache Cop slowly shook his head, muttered something under his breath that sounded like, I need a drink, and turned back towards his car. Younger Cop gave me a look that was equal parts disbelief and grudging respect, before following his partner. They drove off, leaving Karen standing alone on my lawn, bathed in the glow of my silent, triumphant, laser-drawn holiday greeting. She let out a strangled shriek of pure frustration that was far louder than my entire display. The laser show ran its course and faded to black, leaving only the faint haze drifting in the streetlight. My brief reign as the laser guy of Oak Valley Estates had begun. The aftermath was interesting. My phone blew up with texts from friends who'd heard about it or seen videos circulating online. The neighborhood Facebook group apparently went into meltdown, with furious debates raging between Team Karen, tacky, dangerous bylaw violator, and Team Alex, awesome, creative, serves the HOA right. I became instantly infamous. Some neighbors gave me thumbs up when they saw me. Others crossed the street to avoid eye contact. The HOA board convened not one, but 3 emergency meetings within the following week. Lawyers were consulted at considerable expense, to the HOA members, naturally. Emails flew back and forth. The result was inevitable: a hastily drafted, overly detailed amendment to Section 15, specifically prohibiting any form of atmospheric projection, laser light display, high-lumen directional illumination, or the use or dispersal of artificial atmospheric effects, including, but not limited to, fog, haze, or smoke, for decorative purposes. The photon loophole was officially closed, effective next holiday season. Karen tried one last salvo, getting the board to issue me a fine for unapproved landscaping fogging, citing the haze machine, and another for operating an unclassified electronic device visible from the street, citing the projectors. I paid them without argument and framed the violation notices, hanging them in my office as trophies. Life eventually settled back into its usual suburban rhythm, albeit one where my next-door neighbor now communicated primarily through icy glares and the occasional passive-aggressive note about my recycling bin placement. A few weeks later, Lenny came by to help me dismantle the laser setup from the roof. "So," he grinned, coiling a thick cable. "Epic display, man. Truly legendary. Same time next year, we could do animated reindeer." I laughed, looking across at Karen's house, where she was vigorously deadheading roses with unnecessary force. "Maybe not laser fireworks again," I said thoughtfully. "Might be pushing my luck, but I am keeping the projectors." I tapped one of the heavy flight cases, thinking maybe just a subtle, tasteful, animated snowfall effect next year. Very classic, very understated. I paused, a mischievous thought occurring to me. Or maybe I could project a giant scrolling image of the HOA rulebook onto the garage door, with Section 15 highlighted, just as an educational display. Lenny's eyes lit up. "Dude, yes." The light wars might have reached a ceasefire, but the glow of victory and the potential for future photon-based annoyance definitely remained.